Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So far, I have posted 4 videos on contrasting the 3 internal styles. Based on many community members' feedback, I have noticed that many of you practice more than one style of internal martial arts. I mentioned in my prior video that most of the time in China, people only practice one style since it is not that easy to have energy to practice more than one, unless you have a clear and specific goal in training. However, training more styles does not necessarily make the practice of each style better automatically. Actually, it requires more dedication. For example, it is very challenging to keep each style pure in terms of practicing it without mixing with techniques from others. To prevent the possibility of mixing different styles together in practice, one has to know the differences in practice. This is why I think this contrasting format is especially helpful to those who practice more than one style. For example, in my video, I explain the differences in practice among each style, which will help you not to mix up together in terms of techniques and expressions of a style's characteristics. By the way, winter is coming. According to the Chinese lunar calendar, we have already entered the autumn season. Soon, in some countries, such as Canada, it will become cold. So, it's a good time for us to practice more in order to strengthen our body and make sure we are ready for the winter. I live in Canada. The winter here is a bit tougher than in China, so I have to be physically ready for it. Topics covered in today's video include 1. Ling Dong, a concept in Chinese aesthetics. 2. Dead fist versus live fist. 3. Fist in internal style of martial art. 4. Demonstration. And 5. Takeaways. So let's get started. Topic 1. Ling Dong, a concept in Chinese aesthetics. I introduced a concept based on traditional Chinese aesthetics in appreciation and creation of an art or an expression of an object. I call it aesthetic consumption, or 意境, not to be confused with the book 易经. Later, martial artists applied this concept to design and created martial movements by imitating certain subjects around them. Today, I'd like to introduce another concept in the traditional Chinese aesthetics. This term is 灵动. In Chinese, 灵 means intelligent, gentle, flexible, and so on. 动 means dynamic, moving, active, and so on. Together, this term is used to describe a natural grace, elegant subtlety, free and unconstrained aesthetic style, artistic appeal, and other elements related to aesthetics. The opposite of this term is densely packed, static, stiff, and other such imagery. It is commonly used to express an imagery that it means that lies beyond literal form or associations beyond the work itself by leaving a room and space for its viewer to imagine. To summarize this concept, it is a style or approach that enables the viewers to appreciate the aesthetic experience of free imagination on the openness, freedom, and natural grace. This term is commonly used in Chinese painting, poetry, calligraphy, and other traditional and modern arts. Now, I'd like to show you some Chinese painting that can demonstrate this concept, so you will grasp this concept better. This is the first one, a painting from about 500 years ago. Jiang Song, the artist from the Ming Dynasty, perfectly expressed the Lingdong concept in his work. This is the second one, a painting from less than 100 years ago. Zhao Shaowang, the famous Lingnan style artist, a different way to express the same concept. Of course, Lingdong can be used to describe a high level of martial art practice as well. For example, Xingyi is a powerful style famous for its Fajin exercise. Also, its movement is simpler than other styles as well. Its structure is strong and stable. However, in a high level of Xingyi practice, practitioners may reach a level where hard force becomes gentle but still maintains the strong power. Its movement also can become dynamic and flexible, which reflects a sense of grace visually. Furthermore, subtle and hard to describe movement can be observed in demonstration. In my opinion, it's a high level of martial art since it reflects both a high level of understanding of the practice and expression of the movement. So, the softness, elegant subtlety, and the natural grace in a powerful style like Xingyi is considered an example of Lingdong. Of course, this concept can be applied in appreciating a high level of taiji and Bagua practice as well. By the way, the aesthetic elements entailed in Lingdong should be reflected not only in demonstration but also in application. This is the mark of a high-level practice. Topic 2. Dead fist versus live fist. When I was a child, in Tianjin's traditional martial art community, there was a term used to describe an incorrect way of holding a fist, which is called 死拳头 or dead fist. Since 死 means dead and 拳头 means fist. The opposite way of holding a fist is called 活拳头 or live fist, since 活 in Mandarin means live. So, what would be considered as the dead fist? Let me explain. I introduced the 三节 concept or 3-section concept in my prior video. Applying 三节to the arms, the branch force should be pushed by the root and transferred to the middle section. In other words, the fist should lead the direction and the power and the force should be initiated and pushed by the shoulder. So, the function of the fist is not only to attack the opponent, but also to direct the force in the right direction. Therefore, a tense fist formation may be strong but will not be fast. Result, it will become less powerful since power is directly proportional to speed. Therefore, a fist that hinders the speed of movement will be considered a dead fist. On the other hand, if the fist is used appropriately, it would be strong as well as fast. As a result, it becomes very powerful when reaching the opponent. This kind of a fist would be called live fist. Decades ago, people prefer to use such a simple but very visual term to describe and differentiate a simple fist formation in determining and evaluating whether its practice was correct or not. This is why I always prefer to discover the old way of training but try to explain it in a modern method. To summarize, dead fist may be strong but isn't fast, often due to factors such as tension and bad timing. Live fist is strong, flexible, and fast simultaneously. Live fist satisfies the traditional Chinese aesthetic theory of Ling. Topic 3. Fist formation in the internal styles. Everyone is aware that the fist is one of the key hand shapes in most martial art due to its advantages. In the internal styles, there are different ways to make a fist. Often, it can be very confusing. Even worse, some people do not know the difference in fist formation among the 3 internal styles. To help my students understand the fist formation better, I created 3 proverbs for it. Let me read them in Mandarin first, then I will read the English translation. In Chinese, 形逆紧上加紧，太极中空外坚，八卦弹斗如鞭. Now, in English, in Xingyi, the fist begins clenched, then clenches further. In taiji, the fist is a solid outside but feel empty inside. In Bagua, the fist is flexible and move like a whip. Now, let me elaborate them one by one. First, in Xingyi, the fist begins clenched but clenches further. We all know that Xingyi practitioners mainly use fist in combat and training. And Xingyi's body structure is designed to ensure the force can be transferred to the fist from its root, the shoulder. Of course, the force of the shoulder can be initiated by other part of the body, but for the sake of simplification, we only emphasize the direct root of the fist, which is the shoulder. So, to make a fist, Xingyi practitioners require one to make a tight fist. Fingers roll inward to the center of the palm and try not to have any space in the center of the fist. The advantage of this type of fist holding method is the stronger force release. The disadvantage is that it may make the arm rigid and slower. So, how to solve that problem? Well, traditionally, practitioners follow this method. Hold the fist very tight and make sure there's no space in the center of the palm. Then relax the arm muscle while maintaining the structure of a tightly held fist. The adjustment is very subtle but absolutely necessary. The objective here is to maintain a balance between the strength and the speed of the fist. Therefore, in practice, one should pay special attention to this detail in order to maximize performance in martial art training and in self-defense situations. The key point here is that the fist maintains the physical structure while being relaxed. Then, when fist reaches the destination, it clenches even further, becoming more solid compared to its natural state. This is why I said that the fist in Xingyi practice is that the fist begins clenched, then clenches further. So timing is critical here, or else the result won't be far from ideal. Xingyi demonstration follows the same principle that the fist is relaxed before reaching the point of fajin. So, constantly adjusting the strength while making a fist is the key factor here. Second, in Tai Chi, the fist is a solid outside but feel empty inside. In Tai Chi, even though more than half of its movements are executed with an open palm, there are a considerable number of the postures mainly using a closed fist, especially in Chen style and Yang style. A lot of techniques applies fist. To make a Tai Chi fist, one should bear in mind that the way to hold a fist in Tai Chi is different from most other Chinese styles. It should feel empty inside but solid outside. So, how to do it? Well, you can just roll the fingers inward and then make a fist. Then fingers press on the palm and naturally there will be a tiny space in the center of the palm. At the same time, adding an extending force on the fist while maintaining the hand shape. As a result, not only the center of the fist has a small tiny space, but also the surface of the fist appears solid. It's akin to holding a spring pressed in the center of your hand. As a result, the spring's extending force and the hand's holding force together make the fist solid. Also, please do not forget one important point here, that the fist should have a silk reeling energy as well. So the hand shape will adjust according to the silk reeling energy alternation. This still follows the principle of a live fist, not a dead fist. I suggest you pause this video and give it a try, and let me know if you see the difference in practice. 3. In Bagua, the fist is flexible and moves like a whip. In Bagua, most of the movements utilize an open palm. Of course, you can often change a palm into a fist when applying hand techniques. If we just follow the original design of the Bagua practice, we'll use our palm in practice and in self-defense situations. However, there are some practices in Bagua that use fist instead of the palm. For example, one famous Bagua technique is called 反背捶, or hammering with the back of the fist. Almost all the Bagua styles have this technique. So, to get this technique done well, we should keep in mind that there's the whipping power involved instead of penetration power. I will talk about the differences between these two types of forces in the future, but for now, suffice is to say that the 反背捶 technique uses a whipping power or force. So, how to do it? Well, you should extend the shoulder first, then upper arm, then elbow, then the forearm, then the waist, then eventually the fist. So the movement of the arm is like a whip. In that force is initiated in the shoulder area and transferred eventually to the fist. Please keep in mind here that the arm moves like a whip, not like a stick. In the context of Bagua, a whipping motion is a live fist, while stick-like motion is the dead fist. Again, I highly recommend you pause the video and give it a try. Try to keep the arm loose and move it like a whip. Topic 4. Demonstration. I would like to demonstrate how to hold a fist in 3 internal styles. It looks simple, but it's not that easy to do it correctly. I recommend you follow along or pause the video whenever necessary to give yourself ample time to practice this. Following along is way better than passive watching. Okay, let me show you how to hold the fist. Xingyi fist hold like this, it's the palm. Then finger roll inward, then roll inward. So maintain. For the taiji, you close, then have an empty feeling inside. Also at the same time, since we still follow the silk reeling principle, so the feet should be flexible, okay, in different formation. Now, let me demonstrate the Bagua fist. So to Bagua, you can practice this one. Apart the feet and shoulders wide, then shoulder, upper arm, elbow, then forearm, then fist. So repeat this as many times as you want. Topic 5. Takeaways. I have briefly introduced Ling, a Chinese aesthetic concept. It's an interesting concept applicable to many art forms including painting, poetry, and martial art. The goal in practice is to achieve a live fist, or a fist that is powerful yet fast. It requires a balance between strength and speed without compromising either. To maximize the result, one should dynamically adjust the strength of the fist and the way of making a fist. Fist holding methods in 3 internal styles have been explained and demonstrated. Thank you for watching, see you next time and enjoy your practice.